Hi, friends and family,
Welcome to Hope After Addiction
with your hosts, Katie Comer.
and Chelsea McLeod.
Hi, friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy that you did. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, friend. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am really good because I'm getting ready to go on a trip
Woohoo!
with just Adam and I. And we haven't done a trip, just Adam and I, in like 5 years. We've had like little bitty, 2 days here and there, just like a weekend away from the kids. Love my kids, but it is going to be much needed for him to kind of step away from work, kind of detach a little bit, for me just to kind of rest and rest with him. So it's going to be good.
Is this anniversary?
Yeah, so we've been married 15 years this past May.
That's
so
a big one.
it's our 15 year.
That's exciting.
I know. I think we went on our last one on our 10 year.
Oh,
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
White sand and beaches.
I know. Going to the beach.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I am. So
Yeah, I love that because it forces you to do nothing. I mean, you can explore, but you literally just lay on the beach and read whatever you need to do.
Adam is a big beach, fishing, he likes to fish on the beach. I was trying to think of the right way to say that. But he likes to fish on the beach, and I like just to chill.
Yeah.
And it works for us. So
Perfect.
I know. I'm really excited.
I know.
I got to get all my books in order to figure out what I'm going to read. So I got a couple already, but.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
I know.
And then you can come back and share the books with us because we're always looking
Yes,
for
we
good
can have
reads.
it. Yes. Maybe we'll try to get the author on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I like that idea. We'll tag you.
Yes. So I'll let you know how it goes. See how
Yeah.
I know it'll be good, but.
Yes, good for y'all. I'm proud of you for going.
Thanks. Much to the
Doing it.
disdain of my kids.
Uh-huh.
They're very concerned about it.
Yeah.
They love their grandparents, but they do not like being away from us. So,
Yeah.
but it's good. You need to take time for yourself. So,
Yep.
So today we are talking about the power or the art, if you will, of saying no. I know, there's different seasons in life. And for me, my season right now is actually saying yes. And that will probably change as, life gets busy and what God's really calling you and what season you're in. But for a lot of you listening, you're probably listening because you're in a season of hardship and you're in a season of despair almost. And it's just heavy. And what the season of no and how is that healthy versus saying yes to a lot of things. Now for me, in my season of saying yes, I felt like God was calling me to say yes to things that made me uncomfortable, kind of stretching my walk with him and stretching my abilities, but there was a time in my life, and maybe there'll be another time in my life where God calls me into that season of no. And I do feel like for a lot of our listeners, that might be their season, that God's calling them just to say no. And why? Why is God calling me to say no? And honestly, I feel like it's a harder season to say no.
Agreed. I think we're naturally yes people, if I can. And there's a lot more extreme. I'm definitely, they say, a no person in recovery.
Yeah.
I really struggle saying no.
Yeah.
I'm a yes person. And so it's important, I think, like Katie said too, because you, in that difficult season, you have to give yourself space to heal.
Yeah.
And if we're saying yes to so much, which is a ploy of busyness to distract us from healing, because if we never deal with the emotions that are inside of our heartache or turmoil, we're not giving ourselves space to heal. And so saying no to things that do not necessarily feed your healing at that point are necessary and also hard.
Yeah. I think you brought this up, but I think naturally, and we were talking about this with Jorian, our producer too, but naturally I think people a lot of times are people pleasers. And so it's easy to say yes because you don't want to disappoint people.
Yep.
And you don't want to, so naturally we're people pleasers. So Sorry, our producer's saying something. We're good? Okay.
Good.
Okay.
I'm the quiet one here.
Yeah. Lift up your mic.
I know.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
natural.
good. That's right.
fine.
It's organic. Is that better?
It's organic, yeah. So yeah, I just feel like naturally we are. And so it's easier to say yes a lot of times. It's, you don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to, yeah. So I think that saying no, you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to put anybody out because you're saying no.
Yeah.
But there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of healing that can happen inside of saying no.
Yeah. I mean, it's powerful. And maybe have someone do this with you. But I had a counselor years ago, and he was so amazing. It's kind of when I started my journey to healing. And he had me close my eyes one day. And he said, I'm going to say 2 words 5 times each. And so I had my eyes closed, and he said, yes, 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 yes. And he said, no, 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 no. And on no, I clenched my fist and I started squirming in my seat.
Stop.
Yep. And
What?
he observes the body language. And so he said, on yes, you sat here calm as could be. He said, when I said no 5 times, your fist went like this and you started squirming. He said, he said, you were uncomfortable to say no. And I said, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I
don't
am.
like saying no.
Yeah. And so that began the journey to learn how to say no, because I struggle with that. Because I am a people pleaser. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to burden somebody. So I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then I'm spinning so many plates that I'm not doing anything well. And that's one book that's good. I don't know, maybe a good one for next week for you, but Lisa Turkhurst, The Best Yes. Love her. We'd love to have you on the podcast too.
Yeah. Hashtag.
But
Lisa.
yes, but she said, if you're giving your yes to everything, you can't give your best yes to anything. And I was like, ooh, I felt that, because so many times I'm like, yes, yes, yes to everything.
Yeah.
And so many areas of my life are running dry because I'm not giving my best yes to anything. So
that kind of brought one of my points up. That's so funny that you said that. But a lot of times we do say yes to everything, and we spread ourselves way too thin.
Yep.
You know, there's a fine line of wanting to say yes and serving others, but at the same time it spreads us too thin. And God makes it very clear that it's healthy to rest. And it's healthy to rest in this time that you all are in times of trouble, in times of heartache. There's value in rest. And God calls us to rest because, you know, it says it in the Bible. And on the Sabbath, he rested, you know. So it's very biblical that if you're spreading yourself way too thin, there's no time for that rest that God calls us to. And so if you're constantly saying yes, like you said, the best yes, you might kind of overlook, or you're not giving it your all. And so there's wisdom in saying no to those few things that you need to say no to, and be in prayer, in constant prayer to God about what you do need to say no to and what you do need to say yes to, because he'll give you wisdom in that.
Yeah, it's so true. And that's a lot of times, if we don't say no, we don't allow ourselves to have that time with God to speak those things. And I may have said it on the last one, but a few weeks ago, it had just been a morning, and I get to work, and like everything, 3 of my clients were sick, had to cancel. It was just crazy. And God always does that when he's ready to meet with me. And I'm like,
that's
man,
several times, I feel like.
Several times. Yeah. My whole morning, I had a client that walked in, and she handed me a book, and she wasn't on the books that day. And she was like, hey, I was praying for you this morning, handed me a book. But that morning, I decided to sit in my salon with nothing but my Bible and just sit there. And it was so sweet, because I opened my Bible. I was struggling reading. I turned on worship. I was struggling. I turned to write. I was struggling. And God's like, I just want you to sit here. Like, I literally want you to say no to everything else right now. And I want you to sit at my feet. And y'all, he wrecked me that day. And all it was, by saying no to everything else, I could have gone shopping. I could have gotten on social media. I could have done all the things that like my heart and my flesh wanted to do. But he said, I literally want you to sit right here with me, and I'm going to meet with you. but it took me saying no to everything that felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm going to sit here still and meet with you.
Yeah, because some of those times when you're still before the Lord, it can be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one, God's teaching you something about yourself. You're like, I don't need to hear that.
Yes. Yeah. That hurts.
I'm good.
Yep.
So I'm good. So a lot of times when you're distracting yourself with shopping or social media or TV or something like that, you're just trying to like push it away because you don't want to be taught. I mean, if you were to talk to somebody like, yeah, I want to be taught. I want to know what the Lord's wanting me to do.
Yeah.
But do you?
Yep.
But are you really ready to be before the Lord and really be silent and still? Because I know this is good. You are preaching to me because I'm about to go to the beach and I have some really good way to be still before the Lord and the ocean. It can be nerve-wracking.
Yes, it can.
But it's going to be good because God can teach you in those times and empower you in those times. And I'm really looking forward to that. So
it's going to be really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to do. I mean, we're natural, and especially just in my travels in different countries, America is a very fast-paced. We are very much let's see how much more we can do.
Yeah.
And it's not always healthy. It is healthy to say no. And so, but it's very uncomfortable because that's not our societal norm here to say
Yeah, we have been
no.
ingrained to we've been raised that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you get another award. The more I add on my plate, the higher my achievements are going to be. And that's not always what God wants from us. And, we were talking to Jorian earlier just about just that very thing. And I think often, like, how many times did Jesus have to say no to people? When they were, can you imagine, like, please heal my mom, please heal my brother, please do this, please do that. How many times did he have to say, I can't right now because I need to go up to the mountain and pray? Or I will see you tomorrow. I can't do that right now because he saw what we can't see. And so often we have to say no because we see what's ahead, breakdown, burnout, and it requires us to say no. But Jesus also had to say no.
He did.
Yeah.
He's a great example of that, for sure.
And it encourages me that it's okay to say no.
Yeah. Got to say no. One of the things that I had was when it comes to your loved ones. And I know we kind of talked about this briefly, but we didn't want to talk about it too much because we got this. Being able to say no creates boundaries for your loved ones. When so often I feel like that is something when a loved one, and I know you're kind of in that season with them from the beginning a lot more, and so you probably have a lot more to say on this, but I'm just trying to think back to when we were going through it. The power of saying no created this boundary between me and Adam that was super healthy. And a lot of people don't have that. It's, call it codependency, call it whatever, but they're so used to saying yes that it's super detrimental to their healing process that are going through rehab. So, there is some great healing that can take place between you and your loved one once you say no to those things and creating those boundaries, right?
Oh, yeah.
You see that a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a huge one, even for myself, but saying no potentially and probably will be your greatest power to getting them help.
Yeah.
And I tell a lot of my wives, a lot of my mamas and daddies, that is until you start saying no, nothing's going to change. Because they're used to you saying no. Me putting down those boundaries with John and saying no, which was not easy because it came with a lot of pushback, was what began our journey into getting help. And I've said this on here quite a few times, but something I want you to remember is if someone in addiction is mad at you, you are doing your job. If someone in addiction is happy with you, you are not doing your job.
Yeah.
Because in the fit of addiction, your no's are going to make them mad. And that is okay. That is necessary. But that no may save their life. Because if you keep saying yes to paying the bills, to giving them money, you are ethically giving them the needs to go buy those drugs.
Yeah.
Whether you're paying a cell phone or car payment, you're still, and that goes back to our enabling podcast, but
Yeah. Go
saying
back and check that out.
no may be your best power, your most powerful tool that you have to getting your loved one help, even when it's hard.
I know it is.
And
hard,
it
though.
is hard.
I know.
It's hard.
And I'm not a mom or a dad either, because you know, you have these moms, and go back and check our one of my most recent podcasts out. We had a
Yes.
mama on the podcast. It was so good. But as a mama or a dad, seeing your child suffer like that
True.
and saying no to them, knowing that means that they're going to be out on the street. Like, I literally can't do that. I cannot make him go on the street. But sometimes that's what it took for these guys that are at S2L to come and find life and find freedom from addiction.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
their mama or their daddy said not anymore.
Yeah. Oftentimes.
Yeah.
And how many times do we hear hindsight
Yeah.
is the best thing my mom ever did. The best thing my wife ever did was to tell me no,
Yeah.
was to start telling me no.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam was like, my mama kicked me out, and I was just sleeping on the enclosure outside. What do you call it? Like a screening porch.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Yeah. That thing.
The screening porch, you know.
Yeah.
Kicked me out during the day while they went to work.
Yeah.
And then when they got home, he was allowed to come back inside. He was like, I mean, you think like that's a horrible mom. If you like, if anybody else, you're kicking your own son out of the house. I mean, and she's like, I had to, or he'd steal, you know? And he said, that's one of the things that really kind of opened my eyes. Like, I have nothing left, because I mean, that's pretty sad when my mama had to kick me out. And it opened his eyes to know that they weren't going to let him walk all over them anymore, because they kind of put their foot down. So yes, the power of saying no in your situation, for sure.
It's powerful. Another one that this really, really helped me, but Papa would work with this with me, and it was such a awakening for me, but he said, you don't have to say no. He said, a lot of times if you use a different phrase, it's much easier on your mind and your heart. So he said you could say, hey, I can't do that right now, or my schedule doesn't allow for that, or hey, not right now, but call me next time. Or you can use something else that's not
Abrasive.
Yes, that we see as like a hard no. Say it a different way.
That's a great idea.
And say it with love and kindness. And you don't have to explain yourself. But, you know, another one is, I can't do that, but here's what I can do. So you're not saying no to that burden, which is what we don't like to do. You're saying, hey, I can't do that, but I can help you here. So there's a different kinds of ways to say it where it's not so uncomfortable.
I love that. I've never thought about that.
Me neither. And that helped. I'm
Maybe
like,
not right now, but maybe in a few weeks or something like
call me
that.
next
Just
time.
to kind of, if you're in the thick of it and you just can't, you know, and that's a great way.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that. And sometimes too, the other part is you can take time for your response. I think we live in such an instant gratification world that we feel like it's necessary to answer right then. You don't have to. I mean, if there's something pressing that there's a timeline you need to answer, but you can take time to think on things and to say no. I mean, even if your loved one in addiction is just hounding you, I need some time to think about that.
That's good.
And that's okay.
I like that.
You know, that's another thing that makes us uncomfortable sometimes, because we live in a instant gratification world.
Yeah. And I would say saying no in this season for you all listening, it's a great time, because, and if you choose to say no in some of these areas in your life, it's a great time to bring it back to focusing on yourself and focusing on healing yourself, and saying yes to, and prioritizing saying yes to things that are healing for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no to this because I need to say yes to counseling, or I'm going to say no to this because I need to be in the Word more. Yeah. So you're prioritizing your yeses and your nos, because you do need to say yes sometimes, because it's healing and it's empowering for you in this season. But if you're saying yes to everything, because you're not prioritizing, that's when you get that spreading too thin. So, and you don't want that. We don't want that.
No.
So,
yeah, and that's a great point, because I remember just in my really dark seasons of going through that, how I was hurting so badly, and I knew that I didn't have any more space for things that would not feed me, would not heal me. And so I started saying no to a lot, and that may have been people, that may have been friends, that may have been family that wasn't healthy for me. Social media did not feed my healing. There's a lot of things that in that time, be true to yourself and prioritize what is. You know, you may have to give up something, like Katie said, to go to counseling, but it's going to be worth it. So prioritizing what is your best yes right now, what's going to feed your healing and your soul.
I love that.
Super important.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Just encourage you to start saying no.
Yeah.
And, you know.
I when I was kind of doing this, preparing for this, I read this somewhere on the intranets. But it says, learning to embrace the power of no in your life requires you to lean on the Holy Spirit for wisdom in all things. So,
So good.
God, the Holy Spirit, will give you wisdom on when to say no, when to say yes, and trusting in that. But there are seasons that you do need to say no, and there are seasons that you need to say yes, but trying to figure out what those are. So we hope that you found encouragement, that you are in your season for a reason, and that you have the ability to say no, to kind of free that up, to free yourself up from not being weighted down and burdened by all the things that are out there trying to get you to say yes. So we hope you felt encouragement today, and we hope that you join us next week. And if you are listening to us on YouTube, then you can give us a like and a subscribe, and feel free to comment. If you have questions about anything, you can comment there. If you have questions about anything that we've talked about, want us to talk about, you can find us on all the socials, Facebook and Instagram, Hope After Addiction. And we hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see you next week.